Hello. So today I will be explaining Plato's and Aristotle's beliefs of reality and knowledge towards Buddhist philosophy. And then after, I will be comparing Aristotle's ethics of, or virtue ethics and eudaimonia to Buddhism as a religion as whole, and then my opinion of which one I believe is better, or I believe in, and my three premises and conclusion. So to begin with Plato and forms, I personally think that forms are perfect and unchanging ideas that exist beyond the physical world. And with that lies in hand the perfect reality, that Plato believed that we lived in a duplicated version of a perfect reality, that there's a perfect reality and people live in a reality that is duplicated because we are not perfect. And that leads to reason and senses, that we may observe our surroundings and everything with our senses, but we may not be able to validate them or confirm what they are or learn from them without using reason. With reason, we are able to advocate for what things are, for what we hear, for what we see, and so on. And with Aristotle, the first thing is the physical world, which perfectly contradicts the perfect reality. So the physical world, Aristotle believes that we live in a world that isn't duplicated, that the perfect reality that Plato believed in is our world right now, which is what Aristotle believes in. And that leads to observation, experience, and logic. So with what we observe, we gain experience. And with what we experience, we can use logic to validate that experience and learn from it and adapt from it for our lives. And then we leave to the Buddha and his philosophy. So the Buddha has one of his main points that he advocates for is anatta. So anatta, in my personal opinion, means that there is no permanent or unchanging self because everything is constantly changing. For example, I'm not the same person I was a second ago. And no permanent self, he advocates that as well, that there is no, you constantly change, your soul changes, your physical appearance changes. And that leads me to go to meditation, that with meditation and self-reflection, that helps you improve yourself and change. And that concludes my first half. So the second one, I will be comparing Aristotle and Buddhism. So Aristotle, he believed that the purpose of life is achieving eudaimonia, which in my opinion is living flourishly, or living a meaningful life and becoming the best version of yourself. And then he also goes on to believe in virtue ethics, which is, in my opinion, becoming a better person by practicing better habits and continuously practicing them until they become part of your character. So then, continuing with Buddhism, that advocates for ending suffering, that advocates for ending attachment and desire and compassion. For example, Buddhism, they constantly make art, and with this art, it's sand, colors, you draw, paint, or you create whatever you like. And once you finish creating, you destroy your art that you have made, and that removes any attachment that you have. It makes you feel free, that you were able to create something, love something, and let go of it. That is the beauty of Buddhism. And my opinion, I prefer Aristotle. Why? Well, first let me explain their similarities and differences. So both Aristotle and Buddhism believe that people should improve themselves and live ethically, for example. But Aristotle focuses on developing virtues and your character, while Buddhism focuses on reducing suffering and not letting go of attachment, not being so close to certain objects. So I choose Aristotle because honestly, I find his philosophy more convincing. It applies more to myself, And my day-to-day life, I go out, I observe something, and I can gain an experience from it. And with my logic, I can adapt to it, I can adapt it to my character, and I can improve from it, become a better person. And from Buddhism, I can't necessarily do that because it allows me to let go. While Aristotle's philosophy allows me to improve from the things I necessarily grab. So, and to advance to my deductive argument, my first premise is that a good ethical system should help people consistently become better individuals, right? And my second premise is that Aristotle's virtue Aristotle's virtue ethics helps people become better by teaching them how to practice virtues over time. And then developing a strong character helps people make better choices throughout their lives. And I conclude that, therefore, Aristotle's virtue ethics is the most convincing ethical system because it provides a practical way for people to achieve a meaningful life. So, although Plato and Aristotle and Buddha had different views about reality and ethics, they all attempted to explain how humans can understand the world and live better lives.